All
All
right, I got
right.
that.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to learn about movement. My name is Tracy Sprower. I'm the director of Met How at Home. I just want to acknowledge that we are on the ancestral homeland territory of the Met How people. And we're so glad to be here today. This is part of a series that we've just created called Get Ready, the essential tools you need for the opportunities and challenges of aging in place. And movement is so key to that. And we're really honored to have Mark Wolf Armstrong, one of our founding members, and very fitness-oriented community member here to do this presentation. With that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Mark.
Why, thank you, Tracy. And I'm very honored to be in front of all of you. I don't think I've ever given a presentation to this many friends and family all gathered at one time, certainly not on Zoom. And on this topic in particular, I think I've given little thank yous and welcomes at our house for big groups of family and friends, but never on this topic. So this is kind of different for me, and this should be fun. So I'm going to, in honoring the Met How tribe, one of the things I'm going to be using here is a tool that they used right here on our farm. It's a great fitness tool, and I'll be using that at some point, if I remember to do it. Anyway, I'm going to share a presentation, and hopefully if you're on speaker view, you'll get both the presentation and and me, and side by side, I presume. So I think, Tracy, all I do is press this share button, right?
Yep, just like we practiced.
All right there. All right then. Is everybody seeing that?
I'm on. Okay.
All right then. Great. Okay. So, I call this SASSY. Betsy may remember this. It's a lot different than when I did it the first time many years ago for Met How at Home. We did it up at the Winthrop Fitness Center. It's an acronym, and it stands for a safe, active, surprising, successful you. And can everybody see the full screen and not like all the ones? You see me and the screen, that's all you're seeing? Cool. All right, great. So each of these has a reason why they're in this name. And I'm going to, of course, the whole thing is about active. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the idea of surprising yourself a little later, and successful. This is all about how you can succeed at fitness and movement and activity and independence, not failure. And I know that a lot of fitness professionals out there try to work people to failure, and get as much going as you can to the point where you just are almost going to keel over. And then there's all these sayings like, no pain, no gain. Well, that's just the opposite of the way I handle this whole thing. I always thought those concepts and that thought were antithetical to fitness and success. So this is all about you succeeding. And of course, as you can see, Oscar Wilde pretty much nailed the last part of that. And so that's kind of what the acronym means, except for one word on there, safe. I can't do an individual assessment of each of you with 30 people on the screen. A lot of you I know personally, and I know what your life is about and everything, but fitness is a serious thing, and I want you to be successful and safe at it. So some of you may have medical conditions or chronic or acute or injuries or whatever it might be, but I want you to make sure that before you start up a program, you make sure that you check with your physician or healthcare professional who's working with you for your particular conditions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about health benefits, but I'm not going to really focus on the health benefits of fitness, movement, and exercise too much. You probably have all read the stuff and read it every day. It's really very visible on all the news services. It's a big deal, particularly during the era of COVID. But you know, the health benefits of exercise just pretty much get to every part of our body and experience. And I think some of the most exciting stuff right now that's coming out in the science and research is in the cognitive health area. Really, really cool stuff going on, and they're discovering a lot about the value of movement and exercise for our brain health. And you know, I think that as all of us age, I think that's getting more and more important to us. We all know some of the other limitations we may be experiencing as we get older in our musculoskeletal system, or maybe some problems we might have in cardiovascular or whatever. We've known that exercise can aid in those things, and we've known that for a long time. But you know, the cognitive stuff is really coming along really nicely. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any questions about that, feel free. But if you have any concerns about any of this, that would require a more customized conversation to deal with particular situations that you might be facing. Why isn't it working?
I don't think we missed too much.
I'm frozen.
Join the club.
Yeah, maybe it's MetaNet. I just
I wonder if you went out and,
interesting thing about
I'm trying to go
exercise.
out and back in. I can't even do that. Let's
First
see.
article there, and they said that why they think it helps with cognitive health.
I am going
makes
to
sense.
do a mute.
Pause share, resume share. No, that didn't do it. There we go.
Oh,
Okay, that's all right. Cool, back on. Okay, so part of the theme of this presentation was about independence, active and independent. And there are many models out there on what independence looks like, but I particularly like this one from a professor at the University of Miami who's been around doing this stuff for a long, long time. And these 6 particular themes resonate a lot with me, and I think they would with you. It's easy to be overwhelmed by that many pieces of the puzzle, and you know, strength, power, aerobics, all of those things, as if you have to deal with this as individual silos. Oh yeah, I got to do the aerobic piece over here, and I got to do the flexibility piece over here, or the strength piece over here. But actually, these things all work synergistically. And there's a lot you can do that just pretty much cover several of them all in one exercise. So I don't want you to be overwhelmed by this thought, but they do work together, and that's the way the human body works as well. So it all comes together in the end. And I wanted to share with you one thing that I think pretty much sums it up, and that could be the end of my presentation, is an example of where all of this comes together. So this is a great video, and I shared this with Tracy a little while ago. I hope she's going to share it with all the members. But enjoy a couple of minutes of what fitness really looks like. Okay, any questions? That's pretty much my presentation. I'll intersperse the rest of the presentation with a few things from time to time that, I just love Ogden Nash. I don't know what it is about his kind of irreverent humor, but I think this, while I don't necessarily deal with the word immature, we certainly want to retain a youngness to our attitude and our way of being as we go forward in life. And I think that video pretty much covers that. So when we think about movement, exercise, fitness, there's a alphabet soup out there, and it's growing and changing all the time. And just a couple of years ago, bar came on, and TRX isn't really that old. We had over here to the left, you see HIIT, high intensity interval training, and now there's one, it's low intensity interval training. CrossFit's not that old. It's always evolving. If you've watched the Olympics, there are new sports coming on all the time. Now there's big air. I've never even heard of big air before, but that's now an Olympic sport. So there's a lot to pick from. It's quite an array of things that you could find to do. And this is all well and good, but oftentimes the question is, well, is that enough? Or is this the right thing to do? Or how much of this should I do? And I think that's where we get lost in this maze of options. So I like to kind of bring it back and just focus on key movements. And I think that if we just kind of remember, you could pick anything, or you could pick yoga and Pilates, and you could pick CrossFit, you could pick all of those, TRX, Tai Chi, you could pick any or all of those actually. But in the end, there are authentic movements that the human body does and should do and should be able to do. And so just kind of keep in mind that it can be, just keep your eyes focused on these particular moves. And there are a lot of people out there in the fitness world who have different lists. This is my list. And I think that a few of them you'll see on everybody's list. So I'd like to just talk about each of these and show you how that you can work with them, because they're not that complex, but some of them are very complementary. Some are upper body, some are lower body. But let me just go through them and talk about them for a few minutes here. So push is just what it says. And you all know what push looks like. And the most obvious example of push is a push-up. And you've all probably done it sometime in your life.
So Mark, why don't you turn off the screen share?
Okay, yeah, right. As long I'm gonna share talk about all 6 of these. So I'm gonna stop the screen share. And all right then, back to the bigger world. Okay, so I'm going to talk about each one of these things because I think that this is really the kind of core of how we're going to move forward with movement and exercise. So let's start with push. Most of the time we talk about push and pull. We talk about push as an upper body thing, but actually you can do it with a lower body too. But I'm going to talk about it in the upper body sense of it, which is basically push-ups and things of that nature. But push is anytime you're moving away from the body with your arms. So it can be out in front of you, it can be up above. If you want to do it with me, you at an angle, down below. And every time you push, you can also do a pull with it. So they're complementary. one of the things I've really noticed over the years of doing fitness with people is that people really want to do push, but they don't want to do pull. They don't really think about pull. I think it's because we see this side of our body and not that side of the body. And I think it's just a looking good thing. But really, in order to have a really fit and balanced body, upper torso or lower torso, you have to work the backside. And I think a lot of people get into trouble with their shoulders, with their backs and everything else by not having the balance of working both sides of the body. So push and pull, sort of the opposite sides of a coin, Lincoln log kind of relationship. But let me just talk about push for a minute. The most obvious kinds of push that you can do is a push-up. And the beauty of the push-up, everybody thinks, oh yeah, get down on the floor, do some push-ups. But actually, push-ups can start on the wall. You can do push-ups right off the wall, go to a wall, push your arms out there and push. You can amplify it further, progress it as we call it, add a beach ball to it. Creates a little more intensity. So when you're doing it at that level, you're only doing maybe 25% or 30% of your body weight, but you're still moving some weight, and so you are working the body. And as you go along with that push-up, you can bring it down further, so you can go to a desk, and at a desk level, you're maybe getting up to 30% of your body weight. If you go down to something that's maybe just a couple feet off the ground, you're up to about 40% of your body weight. So each time you lower yourself down to the ground, you get a little bit more intensity to the exercise and the push. And the push, of course, is working your chest muscles, it's working your arms, it's working your triceps and your shoulders. It's a really good exercise, and it is a moving plank. So flipping to the bottom of the list, down at the plank, a push-up is just a dynamic plank. It's just something that moves, moves a full, a full body plank, and it's great for that purpose. Pull is something else that, as I said, you don't really, a lot of people don't focus that much on pulls, but they are really, really important to you. They work the back muscles. They work the biceps. They work a complementary set of muscles to the push. And I have, I've kind of adapted our house to fitness. So, I've adapted, I've got a rope here and a pulley that I screwed into the ceiling. I'll talk about this later. But a pull is just finding something where you can either pull it down or pull it back. And each time you change that angle, you're changing the muscles that you're working. And so pull is a really, really essential, authentic human movement. We do a lot of things with it, from opening doors to lifting things up off the ground. You can also do pulls with bands. Most of you have probably seen these things or used these things, but if you just take a band like this, parallel arms, think about your scapula, your shoulder blades back here. The shoulder blades is oftentimes the most misunderstood or abandoned bone in the body, but there are actually 17 muscles that go into that little shoulder blade. And I think it's a remarkable bone. It just floats there in space and moves in all different directions. And so you take a band like this and just pull it apart and feel your shoulder blades come back together in the back. When we sit a lot at desks, we actually sometimes shut off our back muscles. If you sit for a long period of times, you round out. And after a while, I've had a lot of clients who couldn't even find movement in their shoulder blades because they've just been, what is that back there? I'm not even sure exactly what it is, or they can't feel it. So think about your shoulder blades. It's one of the most remarkable bones in the body. And just doing a simple pull like this will work it in really a great way. You don't need a whole lot of weight or something like that, like sit down to a rowing machine or something. You just take a band like that. So pull is a really, really great exercise. And I want to emphasize this. And if you are having a situation where you feel like you're pretty fit on the front end, but not on the back end, just do more on the back end and bring it back up, get some balance in there. Very often people with shoulder injuries, you'll find that they have anterior soreness in their deltoids up here in the shoulder muscles right here in front from either biceps or from the deltoid. You know, doing that, giving the back a little bit of something to help with and do, you know, something to do is oftentimes a good balancing move to soreness in the front of the shoulders. So, you know, give it a go. So pull, grasp. There's a really interesting research going on grip. You know, I saw one study that said grip was just recently was correlated with future mobility, predictions of future mobility for people. I saw another study that said grip had a lot to do with predicting brain health going forward. But when you think about it, your hand got two sides of it. One of the things we're really evolved to do is this opposing thumb to the fingers. It's a big deal. A lot of our brains associated with it. So I teach a class called SAIL, Staying Active and Independent for Life, which is the name of this program. And one of the things we do is what we call fit and fling. And fit and fling is just throwing your hand out in a fling and then gripping with the fist and bringing it back. Try it out. Fling, fist, and throw your fingers open. You know, we oftentimes get to the point where our hands, they almost don't open all the way. They just kind of slowly but surely over time don't really have that openness. And this really focuses on that fling. Think of all the ways in which you use your hand and grip. Walking up a stairs on using a rail, opening a door, picking things up. Grip is really just so essential. So one of the things I like to do with grip is add a little fun to it, which is, this is a little juggling ball. And juggling is also a great exercise, but we're not going there today. So juggling, take this little juggling ball and think about the fling and fist, and then toss the ball in the air and do that to, you know, try to catch that ball. So, and you can toss it to the other side, or you can toss it up high, or toss it behind you. And just that idea of opening hand fully, opening it fully and gripping onto something is really an essential, authentic movement for the human being, and maybe one of the most important ones. So grip, grasp, whatever you want to call it, I've written it in as grasp. So that's kind of some of the stuff up above. When you get down below, there are two movements, and you've all heard of them before. Deadlift is often the other word for hip hinge, and squat. Oftentimes hip hinge can, you know, that can be an aggravating thing for a lot of older people. And so I'm not necessarily going to talk a lot about it, but I am going to say what it is. Hip hinge and squat basically are hip and glute exercises, but they emphasize movement differently. So a hip hinge is great. If you can do it, hip hinge is just a fabulous exercise because it focuses on the back. So you keep a nice neutral back, keep your head up straight, and you let your pelvis go out in the back and you bend over. That's a hinge. You're hinging right there at the hips. And then you come back up and let your pelvis go forward. So you just go bend over, back up, bend over, back up. If you're having trouble just doing some of that, you can cue it off of a wall just by going back to a wall like this, and then just doing a partial move, just tap the wall and back up, tap the wall and back up. So you can do things like that, or you can just let your hands go down on your knees and back up, and start that, and then slowly but surely work deeper and deeper as time goes on. So it's working the back, it's working the hamstrings. Squat, on the other hand, the research on squat, we call it squatology actually. The research on squats is all over the board. And it's one of the key movements that we need for just getting out of a chair, getting in and out of a chair. So a squat, similar, uses the hips, uses the glutes, but it uses the quads and the lower legs more. And it's more of just coming straight down. It's not a hinge forward, it's a straight down and back up, straight down and back up. And there are a lot of different things you can do it. You can do the wide feet, you know, a kind of sumo squat or narrow squat. And if you're having trouble with squats, we do this in the sail class a lot. Squats are a huge part of the sail class. You can use a chair as a cueing mechanism, and you can use that and just go down to the chair level and back up. This happens to be 17 inches off the ground, so it's a good place to start. Or if you need to go up higher to get it going, just add a cushion or something else to it. Just cue it up until you can build up the strength to go deeper and deeper. But squat is really, really important to us as we go forward. Another really key authentic movement of the human body. And then there's lunge. And lunge is my favorite, I think. I don't know. They're all my favorite. What can I say? Lunge is just a dynamic, it's almost like a dynamic squat. Out and back, okay? There's a lunge. There's a lunge. So, you know, don't feel like you have to like go 6 feet out and, you know, that's a lunge. Just bloom where you're planted, I say. So if that's your lunge, that's your lunge. The nice thing about the lunge is you can move it in all different directions. In the class I teach up at Winthrop Fitness, called the Old Person's Exercise class, OPEC, I have them do a lunge matrix all the time. It's one of their favorite things to do. And what you do with the lunge matrix is you can go forward in a lunge, you do a back lunge, you do a lateral lunge, you do diagonal lunge forward, and a diagonal lunge back. And then to add flourish to it, you do a back curtsy. And to the other side, if you're British, this feels pretty much right at home. And then a front curtsy and a back curtsy. And once again, I always say your mileage may vary. You may be, you know, have a bigger range of motion. You may be able to go deeper down, but you know, lunge is a really important thing for our mobility, flexibility, strength. It's just critical. So the nice thing about lunge is you can adapt it to a lot of different things. So here's the Metau Indian pestle. I think that's it. Is it the pestle or the mortar? This goes down, grinds the grain. And we found this in the farm here. And what you can do with lunge is you can load it from side to side. So now you can take this out and do a lunge like this. And because I've got this extra weight on my right side, it's working all of my muscles on the left side to stabilize. So now I'm also doing mobility and balance and strength all in one move.
Great.
So you don't have to have a whole bunch of different exercises to do it. So
This is the deal.
that's the squat, lunge, hinge, plank. As I mentioned already, the push up in particular, is a plank move. It's a dynamic plank. A plank, of course, is a yoga move. It's a fundamental yoga position, pose. And you can do it from the floor, from your hands, or you can do it from your elbows, is the traditional way. But there are all kinds of variations you can do with it as well. But it's a core exercise, and it's usually done isometrically, which means that you are just contracting all of your core muscles at the same time, and you're holding that position for time. And you know, you can start off by just getting down and doing 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're done. And just build up to it. Build up time as you go along. But it's a really great exercise for core. And while you're at it, you know, you're also moving all your blood around your body, because isometric exercises really moves the blood. It's really a critical move for the cardiovascular system as well. So that's those are my kind of six golden nuggets of movement. you do those and you do them in a lot of different sports. Different sports accentuate different ones. So you may have to, pick and choose whatever it is that you want to do or need to do. But, that's a pretty critical set of movements there. So let's see, where was I? Here we go. Share the screen again. Share. And play. All right then. Okay, so then the question comes up, always comes up, okay, how much do I need to do? If you go to the American Heart Association or the CDC, or for that matter, some of the fitness organizations like the American College of Sports Medicine, you're going to see this formula. 150 minutes per week at moderate level. An example would be take 5 days and do 30 minutes each. This is the formula that's out there all over the place. It kind of lets you off, off easy, 30 minutes. And then I've got the rest of the day to, do whatever I want to do. It's a little misleading, but it is a basis. It is a kind of the bar that you need to achieve in order to make sure that all of your systems are working well. And but the 30 minutes, 5 days a week, there's no magic to that 30-minute idea. You could do 3 10-minute sessions in a day. Or you could, start off, if you're not doing anything right now, start at 5 minutes and just work your way up. Something is better than nothing, but you do want to get up to that. And the other thing is that if you get up to a certain level and you kind of plateau and you kind of get to the point where, yeah, well, I've got this nailed, am I okay? Is that good enough? And it might be, but you might want to get more conditioning, get more fit, in which case you need to elevate the game, surprise your body. Your body adapts, and that word actually, surprise, goes way back to Arnold Schwarzenegger about, I don't know, must be 40 years ago. He used to always say that you got to surprise your body to get more fit. And that's really true. So, if you're starting from nowhere, you haven't been exercising at all, then 5 minutes is going to surprise your body. So bloom where you're planted, start with that 5 minutes and go from there. And I'll talk a little bit more about the other aspects of that in a minute. Then everybody says, well, how do I know I'm getting to the right intensity? Well, that's another situation entirely. The best thing to do, the most accurate and easiest way to know whether you're working at moderate level, which is generally considered to be starting at about 60% of your maximum heart rate. I can come back to that question as well, but is to get a device. It used to be that you'd have these chest straps and a matching wrist strap, and you'd be able to see what your heart rate was doing. And those things are still around. They work great. I encourage you to maybe get one of those. But nowadays you can just get one that's just your wrist. I'm wearing one right now. It's called a Fitbit. And it's saying that my heart rate is, wow. I guess all of those squats really are paying off because my heart rate is kind of up there. I'm in the moderate zone right now. So a device like this could help you know where you are. Another way to do that is by this, what is called rate of perceived exertion, which is the chart I have there. And actually, this correlates really, really well with what devices will tell you as well. And a lot of people use this instead of actually a device that's measuring you. But you want to get up to the light levels here to get into that moderate zone. The other thing you can use is music. That's what the beats per minute there is at the top of the list. We use that in the sail class. We just use the number of beats per minute in music to get our pace going. And we know that that's going to get people to a certain level, either to a moderate level or a little higher, depending on what we're going after. So you can actually use music. But you do have to find a way to know, just know in your body that you're getting to some moderate level or higher. And oh, by the way, you get extra points if you go higher than that. For that 150 minutes, if you took it up into a more vigorous zone, you might be able to do even less than that. I'm not encouraging that. I'm just saying that, you know, the more you work out, the more your body responds to it. So it's more complex than all of that, and we all know that. We choose an activity that we'd like to do, and then we run into situations with our health that may limit us or make us change direction or adapt in some way. Maybe it's an injury, maybe it's a surgery, maybe it's a chronic condition that's just popped up. I have a pulmonary issue that I manage around all the time. So, you know, there are things about our health that interact with the activities we want to do, and it also interacts with our motivation. So, and various other aspects of this thing too. So we have to figure out where our sweet spots are, and we have to be willing to adapt. Not moving is really not an option. And so we have to figure out what activities we really love to do and figure out how we can keep doing them. So keep in mind that the only good exercise, though, in all of this, the only good exercise is one that you'll do over and over again. Doing an exercise one time isn't going to do anything for you, but you find something that you like doing enough that you will do it over and over and over again. So find something you love. There is no wrong exercise. There may be a wrong exercise for you at your particular moment, given your particular situation, health or otherwise, but there is an exercise out there, there's some movement out there for you, even in those circumstances. And we all know that. I had my shoulder re-sewn a few years ago, and I had to completely adapt to having that side of my body, you know, recovering and doing rehab while I tried to keep the rest of my body going. It's a very tough equation. It's very tough. But you figure it out. You find an appropriate exercise to keep yourself, coming back from wherever that situation took you. Specificity is important, and that goes right to the thing I just mentioned. You need to be able to focus on what your goals are. If you want more cardiovascular health, you focus on aerobics more, although strength training can certainly give you aerobic conditioning. If it's weight loss you're after, then there are exercises and certain levels of intensity that you go after for that kind of weight loss. Specificity is really important to aim you in the direction that you want to go. And persistence that's a no-brainer. You've got to keep doing it. If you do it for a month, you're going to start over pretty quickly. The thing about, as we get older, our we call it detraining, happens much more quickly. So you do have to get a momentum going and be persistent about it to be able to sustain the level of fitness that you want. So I just wanted to share with you, we have this class, I call it SAIL, or we call it SAIL, Staying Active and Independent for Life. It's actually a fall prevention class, but it's also a general fitness class. And it's an hour-long class. We're trying to get it restarted in the Methow, and I'm sure we will. There's still a lot of hurdles to go over. I'm going to try to get one going at the Winthrop Fitness Center and also back at the Grange as well. There are several of us in the Valley that can teach it. But it is basically a series of components or little compartments of movement, starting with warm-up, and there's the beats per minute. So we're warming up at 115 beats per minute. And if you want to know how to figure out a music's beats per minute, that's easy to find out on the internet. Just ask the rabbi, I always say that, ask the rabbi. Go to the internet and use DuckDuckGo or something and just type in songs beats per minute. And there are a number of different places that'll tell you what your favorite songs are in beats per minute. So you just go there and you type in a song or an artist or whatever, and you can find out exactly what that song will do for you. So we do a warm up at 115 beats per minute. And then we go out of that warm-up period, which is only a few minutes, into an aerobics period that's at 125 beats per minute. And that will get us into the moderate range that we want for the fitness that we're going after for this, for our participants. Then we move into exercise in balance and strength and stretching, all based on so many beats per minute, as well as a certain set of sets and repetitions to get things going. We make it fun. We play the music. It's a kind of playful kind of a program, but it's a really, here's the strength part. We do that for about 15 to 18 minutes. Then we finish off by cooling down and stretching it out, stretching all the different parts of the body. So I'm just trying to show you that there's a way to program this, and you can customize it to individuals as well as groups. And you can also take the strength and separate it out on one day and do aerobics on another day, or stretching on another day. You could do yoga as a substitute and stretching. So there's all these different variations you can take on all these things, going back to that alphabet soup of modalities. Your mileage may vary. Everything here is about you as an individual, where you are and where you want to go from here. I can't write a generic prescription that's going to cover all 30 of you or so. It's very individualized, but the general concepts are all the same. Okay, the elephant in the room. Everybody's going to tell you should try to get 8 hours of sleep. And then I'm just telling you about 30 minutes of workout. So that leaves, if you do both of those things, which are kind of the formula, right? You've got 15.5 hours of neither of those. And more, because of the pandemic and because of our lifestyles, we're sitting more. You're all sitting right now. You should be right now standing up. I've had you sit for too long. I'm sorry. I'm a bad trainer. I should have had you up and moving around all this time. The key thing is that 15.5 hours isn't for you to now rest on your laurels and sit down and watch a movie or whatever. You have to reach a level of intensity in order to make the body become more fit, but you don't want to lose that fitness by then going and sitting for the rest of the day. So I'm sorry to tell you, but you're going to have to move during that 15.5 hours. And there is research behind it. And there is some evidence about just how much. And you are going to have to move a lot of the time. And I generally say that if you've been sitting for an hour, you better get up and move for a while. I tell Maggie, she sits at her desk, doing Zoom calls to save the Methow Valley. And I say, if you're there for 30 minutes, you should get up and move. Do things without doing them in a seated position. So the chair, they're saying that this, sitting is the new smoking. So yeah, it's bad. That's my desk chair. I sit there. So I got to remind myself, I'm not pure as the driven snow here. I sit there way too long and do stuff. But I do consciously think about it. I look at time, I get up, I move. All chairs are not created equal. That's my desk chair. That's probably an anathema to my health. The other chair is a folding chair, and I showed it to you earlier. I view this as a piece of fitness apparatus. I can use this chair to do partial push-ups, or to cue my squats, or various things that I can do with that as a piece of exercise equipment. So all chairs are not evil, but sitting in them is not a good thing. So my message to you is move, 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 move. There are lots of solutions to the sedentary lifestyle. You saw one earlier, the video I showed you. You can make up a list longer than this yourself of all the things you could do if you weren't sitting. But just stand up, take a stairs. I love my stairs. With my stairs, and we've built, we kind of built this house so we could live on one floor, but I keep, I work up here in the upper room here, and I use those stairs. I go up and down them all the time. I put a kettlebell at the top of the stairs, and when I go downstairs, I pick up that kettlebell and I walk down the stairs with it, and then I put it at the bottom. And then when I come back up the stairs, I pick it up with the other hand and walk up the stairs and put it back where it started. It's just a simple cueing thing that makes me do something different with my body. It surprises the body. It says, okay, yeah, I haven't done that before. Maybe I better, get on the ball here and help Mark out. And so that little kettlebell and that little cueing helps a lot. So take the stairs. It's really fun things. Put stuff in your upper shelf. Everybody wants to abandon the upper shelves in our kitchen. I love upper shelves in the kitchen. I love lower shelves in the kitchen because it makes me go down there and do something, or reach up here and do something up here. I know we sort of want life to be easier, but maybe easy isn't necessarily all that good for us. So these are various things you can make up your own list. Gardening is great. Go outside, nature, move around. See, nature doesn't stand still. So we've also gone the extra step of, we were sitting here in the pandemic for the last couple of years and we said, geez, and of course over here in the Met-Tal, we also have seasons like smoke seasons and things like that to get in the way, a heat dome or, whatever. And so we decided, we've got a house here with a lot of wood. It's made out of wood actually. And so we said, well, we could drill holes in the wood and we can put little hooks in there. You get these little eye hooks. And can you see me? Okay, can you see this? If I put that up there, everybody can see this little eye hook. That is a piece of fitness equipment right there. And I'm sure that all of you have studs in your walls or something, or someplace where you can screw one of those things in there. And then you'll find an old carabiner. These are Maggie's old climbing carabiners. Actually, they're really good. And, well, you see a picture of it right there. I can't really see very well, but anyway, you see where we screwed it into the ceiling. I had to find the wood because you don't want this thing to come down on you. Safety, 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 be safe. So I had to find where I could screw that thing in, but then I put a carabiner in it. And then I found an old piece of dowel, an old dowel rod. I cut it to length and I found an old piece of rope and I found a pulley on the driveway. I don't know how it got there. But anyway, I just ended up with this little thing here. It allows me, it's just a piece of rope and a pulley and a screw in the ceiling, and I added a bunch of weight to the bottom of it, and I can do pull downs on it. I'm not going to the, whatever those things are called, the sporting goods stores and stuff. I'm not buying a bunch of extra stuff. I just figured, what the heck, I've got something around here I can work with. An old basketball, an old beach ball. You can use, you can go and buy these, popcorn things that are weed.
Hey, Mark, you might want to turn off the screen share because we're seeing you in a tiny box.
I'm in a tiny box?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, I can do that. How can I do that? All right.
There we go.
Now can you see me better?
Yeah.
So now I've got this 5 pound, and I know it's 5 pounds, little jug of popcorn. We eat a lot of popcorn. So this goes down over time, but which is not good for weight training. It's supposed to go up in time. Well, anyway, this is 5 pounds. So now I can just carry that around, or I can do lateral raises with it, or I can do push overhead, whatever you can do with these things. Thing is, your arm's about 8 or 9 pounds. So if you just do this, you've now lifted weight. Do that, 8 pounds. Depends on your weight, but maybe 7 or 8 pounds for some of you. There you go. You just lifted that. Now I've just added 5 pounds to that just by lifting popcorn. Or the Met-Tal Tribe tool. I can just lift up a rock. Or I can, while I'm cooking dinner, I can take a pan and I can lift a pan over there. And you can weigh this little cast iron skillet, and I've got this little postal scale. So now I can weigh anything that I want, just put it on there. I know that that's about 1.5 pounds. So now I've added 1.5 pounds to my lift or lifting in front. So, don't go out and buy a bunch of equipment. Just start using your library. Maggie's old French dictionary here, which is a massive tome. Look at that thing. Turns out it weighs about 4 pounds. Look at that. Now I've got a dumbbell, only it's in a book form. And, so you can just start working your muscles from what you've got in your house. So do that. Or, once your popcorn is all used up from eating it, then you just fill that thing with sand. So we've got this. One of the reasons I like having the library here is because I can take a bunch of books, different weights, hold them together. And you can do different weights and different arms. Don't try to do what they say in all the fitness books. Here's a 4 pound, here's probably a 1 pound. Mary Oliver poems. Okay, Mary Oliver, you're gonna lift with my right arm. The French are gonna lift with the left arm. Ta-da! The body loves asymmetry. So doing something on one side and not the other, or switching it over, the body loves that. It loves playing with the fact that this side has to stabilize while this side has to work. Just play with it. Just play with it. Okay, where was I on the slideshow? Oh yeah, I showed you that. Oh, your toothbrush. Oh my God, your toothbrush is the best fitness tool you have in your entire house. I don't have it up here, but you can stand in front of the mirror with your toothbrush, and mine has timers on it, 30-second intervals. So I can go there and I can brush with it and stand on one leg. And then I can stand on the other leg and switch to the other hand. Or I can, take my Metal Tribe rock and I can brush with one hand and I can lift with the other while I stand on one leg. So, this is all just playing. Movement is all about play. Have a good time with this. Just, find stuff you can play with and put it in your house. You spend so much time in your house. So, all right. Okay, I'm going to share one more picture with you. Share screen. Da-da-da-da. 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 All right then. So our lower room, we adapted to a whole bunch of things. We screwed these little eye hooks in everywhere. And we got on eBay, we got a very inexpensive suspension strap, the TRX straps that you've probably heard about. I got a dowel rod and I adapted that so Maggie can do a chest press or a push out. And I screwed a couple things in the ceiling and I could do a pull up. And then this is a kitty litter jug that I filled up with sand and I can just carry it around doing the suitcase carry. This can be a very creative experience for you. It can be fun. You got a million things out there to play with. Just go at it. So, final wrap up here. Have fun. Now, is Don Portman on or is just Sally on? I think thought I saw Sally. Okay, well, anyway, have fun and smile. I learned that rule from Don Portman when I first learned how to cross-country ski. Don's most important rule for learning how to cross-country ski is most important technique is smile. So that's the first thing you got to do is smile, because if you're not going to do that, you're just going to miss out on so much of the enjoyment of this. Next thing to do is be careful of the comparing mind. We spend a lot of time, we're hardwired for comparing, we just do that. You've got to stop comparing yourself to your former 16-year-old person, your former 16-year-old self, or for that matter, your 20-year-old self. Or stop comparing yourself to what your parents were like when they were your age. Or, I really wish I was as fit as my friend over there. The comparing mind is a big obstacle in this whole thing. You've got to listen to yourself. You got to accept your body, bloom where you're planted, and channel that comparing mind into something that it can actually do for you, okay? Because it's not going to take you back to being 18 years old, I can tell you that. I've tried that a lot, believe me. And that comparing mind is just, it's a piece of work. But you can use that comparing mind to say, I'm right here now, and I'm at a certain level of fitness, and I can apply certain things, like I can lift the French dictionary, and I can do that, and I can do it over a period of time, and then I can be at point B, and I can say, okay, now I'm at point B, and I'm either better, worse, or the same than I was over here. That is a comparison that can be of some value to you, and it doesn't take you back decades where you can't get. Another thing to do is just make a plan and track your progress. I say write down the plan, but not too many people write anymore. So maybe you have to keyboard it down. But anyway, make a plan. You can ask for help in making a plan. There are trainers around that might be willing to help you out. And then track your progress so that you know point A to point B or point C. Fit your exercise into your day. I've already talked about that. Get up and move around. Make your house fitness friendly, and get social. All the evidence shows social will keep you motivated. It gives you people to support you. It's fun. In our OPEC class, I always try to get laughter in there. Laughter is really, really important. And so I get, you got to laugh. If you take any of this too seriously, yeah. Anyway, OPEC, we laugh a lot. And the SAIL, both of those are group classes. We'll probably, we have a lot of fun with them. So there's that. And then Michael Pollan's, you've all read Michael Pollan, his books on food. I love when he said, eat real food, mostly plants, not too much. I said, there's got to be something I can do in fitness that way. So I came up with move your body almost every day and get enough sleep. Resources. If this isn't enough for you, there are lots out there. And this is a really big deal nowadays. And you can ask for help or look for help in various places like that. And finish with Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets. Turns out Mary Oliver grew up very close to where I grew up in Northeastern Ohio. So she's a Northeastern Ohio poet, and she's just fabulous. So, and this is one of her most famous quotes. Ta-da!
Wow, thank you, Mark. That was absolutely fantastic. And thanks everybody for staying on here. It is a little bit past 5, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. If you have to go, that's all right. We're recording it and you can always circle back. But any questions out there, you might have to take yourself off of mute, or you could put it
I have
into
a question. I have a
Great.
question. Is the beats per minute the same as target heart rate? And because I don't hear people saying target heart rate anymore.
Yeah, it turns out that that rhythm is very close to your target heart rates. And they've shown that when you work out to music, you can very easily adapt to that rhythm. So it's not exactly your rate, but the SAIL class that we're doing is a very well studied protocol. And they've discovered that those rhythms get you right into that moderate zone that you want to get to. So yes, it's not an exact, it's not like the music just kind of becomes your heart, but it's a very good measure of where you are in terms of moderate to vigorous exercise.
Mark, I have a question. This is Melanie. It says Randy B, but it's not Randy, it's Melanie. You didn't talk a lot about stretching, and I am finding that, I do a lot of walking because that's what I love. And that gets me moving. But I also find that I have places like, one sort of glute, back, hip, all of that side feels really tight after I walk. And so what do I do about that?
Stretching is a very, very interesting topic. First of all, very often what we think of our stiffness is actually a weakness in a complementary muscle. And so sometimes we feel stiff when we get out of a chair, and it's hard, the hip becomes stiff and hard to move. And oftentimes that's because your glutes are now weakened, or your quads are weakened, or one muscle is shortened and one muscle is lengthened. So part of stretching, part of the stiffness issue needs to be dealt with in a strength approach instead of a stretching approach, okay? So having said that's something where you might want to work with somebody on discovering those imbalances in muscle strength, lengthening and shortening. But in stretching, we oftentimes stretch, especially as we get older, we stretch cold, which is a very ineffective way to stretch. What you want to really do to stretch, it's almost counterintuitive, is warm up a little, walk around a little bit, get the blood flowing, get a feeling of heat in your body, a little bit warmer in the body, and then stretch it out. You'll get a much more effective stretch than if you just stretch cold. The other thing is stretching cold, the older you get, when you stretch cold, you're more likely to encounter a problem with a tendon or micro tears in your muscles. So warm, then stretch. It doesn't have to be long. You saw earlier in the sail thing, I had warming for like 5 minutes. Okay, so warm up, move around, walk around, just get it going. I can't walk very far around here because it's 6 feet wide. But and then once you've got some feeling and movement and warmth in your body, then do a calf stretch or a quad stretch. And you don't have to do them standing up and lift your leg and all that kind of stuff. There are ways to stretch in a chair. So that doesn't give you the specifics of what you want, but it gives you some ideas of where you might go with that, I hope. Anyway.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. And Melanie, we'll have to do a special program on stretching, but somebody else was asking questions, so.
Oh, I just wanted to know how long you should do a movement. Like if you want to do the push, how long? Like 5, 10? It just depends on your body, how many minutes you should do.
Well, it does depend on your body and where you're starting.
So
but if you've never done the
with
movement
5
before,
or 10 or.
if you've never done a movement before, like a push,
Right.
People very often start off doing it too much and too hard
I see.
because they think, look, I did it before that well, and so why not be able to, just go right at it again? The best thing to do is underestimate where you are, I think, especially as we're in this older cohort. So, if you were going to start off with push-ups, you might start off, this is a desk, maybe 30 inches high, start off with this. I might start you with just doing like 6 push-ups and see how that is the next day.
Okay.
It may not hurt you when you're doing it, but it may give you consequences the next day or 48 hours later. So you want to start off slow if you haven't done something before. Don't go off and start doing 3 sets of 12 of push-ups if you haven't done them in 10 years or ever. So start off slow and easy. You got the time. Don't hurt yourself. Safety, that's the most important thing. The older we get, the longer it takes for us to heal from injury. So, take care of yourself and don't over push it to start with. You can test yourself that way and work yourself into something instead of just, going hog wild and think you need to be fit in 3 days.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else out there? And remember, you'll have to unmute yourself. So if someone's talking, we can't hear you.
There you go. Okay, here's the real Randy B. Mark, I had a question. When I was looking at your chart of activity, you kind of went from casual walk to all kinds of weight things to running. What I do often, depending on my time, and what I see a lot of people doing, is just that brisk walk. This afternoon, I had less than an hour to get back here. So we spent almost an hour walking up the Balky Hill Road. It's a 300-400 foot walk. Walk for an hour, you pick up a couple hundred feet, try to do it fairly quickly if you don't see the bluebirds, which we didn't see today, so we got more exercise. But where does that fit in? Because this is such a common thing that people do, is just go out and do a nice walk for an hour or two. Where does that fit on your scale?
It fits into the 15.5 hours of keeping moving. So it's really important to do that. So, there's 24 hours in a day, and you don't want to like walk for an hour or two and then go home and sit for 14 hours. So, we're not really built for sitting that long, really. We didn't evolve that way. It's just not us, but we've become that. We've become the sitting people. So yeah, that's great that you're doing that. Fabulous. Do more. Don't go home and sit for 5 hours after that. Maybe sit for a little bit of time.
Anybody else? Let me just make sure there's nothing in the chat. Oh, here's something from Betsy. Thank you so much, Mark. You make me smile and even laugh out loud. Yeah, that was great.
You're welcome.
We can tell that you are a pro, so.
I just wanted to, I don't know if Sally and Don heard that comment, but about the most important aspect of cross-country ski technique being the smile. I heard Don say that probably 15 years ago, and I've never forgotten it. And I think about it all the time. And it's one of the wonderful things of being here in the Met How is when you're out and about or out skiing, you see people smiling all the time. And so I hope that note of thanks gets to Don's ears because it's made a huge impact, certainly on my life.
That's great. Okay. All right, I
Thank
think
you all.
we did it. Thanks so much, everybody. That was
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark.
Thanks.